It was a normal Tuesday morning on Earth. People were getting ready for work, making breakfast, checking their phones. Kids were getting dressed for school, complaining about homework. Somewhere in Tokyo, a man waited in traffic, annoyed. In Brazil, a girl listened to music while walking to her part-time job. In New York, an old woman fed birds at the park. It was just another day. Then at exactly 8:17 a.m., everything stopped. All over the world, every screen turned black. Every phone, TV, laptop, billboard, even digital watches, flashed with a strange blue light. At first, people thought it was a power cut or a virus. But then a message appeared. A voice spoke in every language known on Earth, even in the quiet minds of people who couldn't hear. Humans of Earth, you have been watched. You have been chosen. Some people screamed. Some dropped to their knees. Some just stared, unable to understand what was happening. But the message continued. We are the Corellian Accord, a coalition of intelligent species across your galaxy. We have observed your progress. We now invite you to take the sentience trial. What did it mean? Who were these Corellians and why Earth? Why now? In just a few minutes, the world changed forever. The panic and the questions governments quickly tried to understand the situation. In Washington, Beijing, Moscow, New Delhi, and many other capitals, emergency meetings were called. Leaders asked their scientists, is this real? Is it a trick? Could it be a human-made hoax? But then something impossible happened. All satellites around Earth showed huge ships entering orbit. Not just one or two, dozens. Each ship was the size of a small city. They didn't attack. They didn't send soldiers. They just floated there, silent, glowing with light and watching. The message repeated once every hour. You have been chosen. The sentience trial begins soon. Prepare. Across the planet, people panicked. Some ran to churches or temples. Others locked themselves indoors. Some went to rooftops to watch the ships. Social media exploded with theories. Were these aliens peaceful? Was this the end of the world? What did the sentience trial mean? And perhaps the biggest question of all, why us, why Earth? For thousands of years, humans wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer. Not only were they not alone, other species had been watching them for a long time. The Corellians revealed some information to Earth's leaders. Through a live broadcast shown to the whole world, an alien being, tall, glowing, with large black eyes and skin like flowing silver, spoke. Earth has reached a turning point. You have built machines that fly, eyes that see into atoms, and tools that connect your minds across continents. But your violence, fear, and division still control you. The trial will test your species, not your strength, not your speed, but your heart. The voice was calm, but the message was serious. This was not a friendly visit. It was a test that could change everything. The world unites, Mike, sort of. For the first time in history, the United Nations actually felt united. Leaders from every country came together through video calls, summits, and special task forces. But this time, it wasn't just politicians. Scientists, philosophers, psychologists, and even artists were invited. The world knew that this trial wasn't going to be about military power or scientific gadgets. It was about what it means to be human. A special team was created called the Human Council. It included a scientist from Kenya known for her work in ethics and AI, a young poet from Pakistan who had survived war and wrote about peace, a disabled activist from Canada who fought for equal rights, an elder from the Amazon rainforest who carried the wisdom of his tribe, a Japanese roboticist who taught empathy to machines, a former soldier from Ukraine who now painted pictures of broken cities, a teenage climate activist from Norway, a mother from Syria who had lost her family in war but now helped refugees, and others, chosen not for power, but for their compassion, wisdom, and ability to see beyond borders. These people were chosen to represent Earth, not as rulers, but as souls. The waiting time. The Corellians gave Earth 2 weeks to prepare. During this time, the Human Council worked day and night. They asked questions, made guesses, and tried to imagine what the sentience trial might be. Would it be a giant game? A mind test? Would people be placed in some kind of simulation? Nobody knew. But something strange began to happen during this time. People all over the world began to listen more. Hate on social media dropped, wars paused, religious leaders asked for peace. Even crime rates went down. It was as if, for the first time, humanity remembered it was all one species, one people, one home. Parents talked to children about kindness. Teachers asked students, "What makes a good person?" News. Anchors ended their shows with hopeful messages. Music, art, and stories filled the air. Earth was scared. But it was also waking up. The arrival on the last day of the waiting period, a soft blue light covered the earth like a dome. Everyone felt a warmth in their minds, not painful but heavy, like standing at the door of something huge. The Corellian sent a final message. The trial begins now. You will not remember how you entered, but you will remember who you are. Let your heart guide you. We are watching. And just like that, millions of people chosen from different parts of Earth fainted at once. They fell asleep, wherever they were. On sidewalks, in schools, at home, in hospitals, on trains, even in the middle of meals. Their bodies stayed, unharmed. But their minds had been transported to somewhere else, to a place that no map could show, to the beginning of the sentience trial, a quiet Earth, a watching galaxy, as the chosen humans slept in peace, being sent to the test. The rest of Earth waited. The skies remained calm. The alien ship still hovered, unmoving. But somewhere beyond those ships, thousands of other species across the galaxy tuned in. They watched through their own strange devices, crystals, lights, vibrations, smells. They watched and waited, because none of them had ever passed the sentience trial on their first try. Not one. They didn't think the humans would succeed. They expected chaos, fear, selfishness, but they were about to be surprised. Very surprised. When the chosen humans woke up, they were no longer on Earth. There were thousands of them, maybe more. Men, women, children, young and old, from every country, religion, and background. Some had never left their village. Others had traveled the world. Now they all stood in the same strange place. It looked like a giant floating land surrounded by stars. The sky was black, but full of colors moving like waves. Strange birds with glowing feathers flew above. Trees whispered in a language no one understood. The ground was soft like sand, but when you stepped on it, it turned firm like rock. No one spoke at first. Then someone whispered, "Where are we?" And another said, "This must be the trial." The voice returns. Just then, a soft, calm voice filled the air. It wasn't coming from a speaker. It was inside their heads, but it didn't hurt. "Welcome, humans. This is the Heartfield, the space where we test souls. You have been chosen to represent your species. Your actions will decide Earth's future. This trial has 3 stages. You must face them together. You cannot pass alone. Begin. Stage 1. The Hunger Test. Without warning, the floating land shifted. The people were split into groups of 100 and placed in large rooms made of glowing walls. Each room had one long table. On that table was a meal, bread, fruits, water, vegetables, just enough for 50 people. But there were 100 people in each room. A voice said, "You have 1 hour. Eat if you must, or feed others. Choose." The rules were clear. No second helpings. No sharing outside your group. And once the hour ended, the food would vanish. The room stayed quiet at first. Some people stared at the food, hungry. Others stood back, afraid of appearing selfish. A man said, "Let's vote. Maybe the weakest eat first." A woman replied, "But how do we decide who is weakest?" One young boy said nothing. He simply tore a piece of bread in half and gave it to an older woman beside him. That small act started a wave. People began breaking fruit in halves, pouring water into caps to share. Some refused to eat. giving their part to a child or a pregnant woman. Others gave quietly, even though their stomachs growled. In almost every group, people chose to share. Not perfectly, not always kindly, but they tried. When the hour ended, the voice returned. Your species passed stage 1, and just like that, the walls melted, and the groups were brought together again. Stage 2. The enemy dilemma. The second test was harder. This time the humans found themselves in a giant forest. There were cabins for each group, and each group had its own supplies, blankets, tools, wood, and clean water. Then the voice said, "Among you is a danger. One group has been told that another group plans to steal from them. You must choose whether to trust each other or protect yourselves." No one knew which group had been told the warning. Maybe none of them. Maybe all of them. It was a test of trust and fear. Some groups started building walls around their cabins. Others posted guards at night. Some wanted to send messengers to talk to other groups but were afraid of being attacked. Then something unexpected happened. One group took a risk. They lit a giant fire and left food near it with a sign, "We want peace." Another group saw the fire, came closer, and left extra blankets. Slowly, trust began to grow. Of course, not everyone trusted. Some tried to sneak into other camps, but they were caught, not punished, just talked to. The humans learned. They built a shared kitchen, a medical tent, a music area where people played drums, flutes, and sang songs from their home countries. The forest became more than a test. It became a tiny village. At the end of the second week, the voice returned. You have passed stage 2. You have chosen community over fear. Stage 3. The mirror of pain. The third and final test was the hardest. This time the people were taken to a gray valley. No color, no music, just cold wind and empty hills. Each person was put into a private room. In that room, they were shown something, not a monster, not an alien, but a moment from their past. The worst moment. A mistake. A time they had hurt someone, or been hurt. Some saw their angry selves yelling at a friend. Others saw the face of a person they had betrayed. Some saw war. Others saw silence. The voice said, "To pass, you must forgive someone, or ask for forgiveness, truthfully, deeply." This was not about survival, this was about the soul. People cried. People screamed. Some curled up and refused. Others knelt and whispered names. In their minds, they were connected to others in the trial. They could find the people they had wronged, or had been wronged by, and speak to them. And they did. A soldier asked forgiveness from a civilian he had once hurt, a thief from a victim, a bully from a classmate. Some forgave themselves. Others whispered sorry to people who were long gone. And though it was painful, something beautiful happened. Healing. When they emerged from the gray valley, the sky above them shone with color again, and the voice, soft now, almost emotional, said, "You have done what many species could not. You faced yourselves. You have passed all stages. Your trial is complete." The return in the blink of an eye, the chosen people returned to their bodies on Earth. It was as if no time had passed, but they remembered everything, and they were changed. They hugged strangers. They cried in the streets. They smiled at the sky. Around the world, the people who had taken part began to tell their stories. They spoke of sharing food with strangers, of building peace where there was fear, of forgiving even when it hurt, and others listened. At first, some didn't believe them, but then the Corellians spoke. Their voice returned once more. The galactic announcement. The Corellians sent a message not just to Earth, but to the whole galaxy. To all sentient species, Earth has completed the sentience trial. They passed each stage on their first attempt. They chose kindness over hunger, trust over fear, forgiveness over pride. Let this be known. The humans are ready. Across the stars, beings from other worlds watched in silence. Many had taken this trial and failed. Some had laughed when humans were chosen. But now, They watched in shock, because against all odds, the humans had passed the impossible test. The world was celebrating. After the announcement from the Corellians, Earth exploded with joy and pride. People cheered in the streets, fireworks lit up the skies. The internet overflowed with happiness. Every news channel repeated the words, "Humans have passed the sentience trial." It felt like a dream. Humanity had done something no other species had done before. They had passed all three stages, compassion, trust, and forgiveness, without failing. But the dream was not over. The Corellians had one last surprise, and this time, it was not a test of skills or feelings. It was a test of the soul, the unexpected message. 2 days after the celebration, the blue light returned. All screens on Earth went dark again. The voice of the Corellians spoke. "This is the final choice. Your species has passed the sentience trial. Now you face the true test, one that no one warned you about." People looked at each other in confusion. What did they mean? Another test? But the voice continued. You must choose your future. But the choice comes with a price. Then, the Corellians showed a vision. The two futures, the sky changed. Everyone, whether they were in a village in Africa, a skyscraper in Dubai, or a forest in Canada, saw the same thing. Two possible futures. Future 1, the golden path. In this future, Earth joined the galactic community. Advanced alien technology helped clean the oceans, heal the planet, end disease. Poverty disappeared. Education, food, and energy were shared freely. Humans explored the stars side by side with peaceful species. There was peace, knowledge, and beauty, but there was a catch. To take this path, a small group of humans had to be sacrificed, a group chosen randomly from those who took the trial. These people would be taken away and never seen again. No pain, no torture, just gone. To rise, someone must fall, the voice said. It was a common rule in the galaxy. Every species that had passed the test had accepted this deal. It was called the exchange of cost. It kept balance. The Corellians believed progress must never be free. Future 2. The hard road in this future, humans would still grow, but slowly. No alien help. No new technology, no easy fixes, but no one would be harmed. Earth would remain independent. The people who passed the trial would return home. The future would still be bright, but earned the hard way. Over decades or centuries, the world reacts. The message ended. People were silent. It felt like a heavy stone had been dropped on Earth. For days, the world argued. Debate started in every home, every office, every online platform. Some said, "This is our chance. We can end suffering forever. A few lives. For billions, it's worth it." Others shouted, "No, we just proved we're better than that. We can't buy peace with blood." Even those who weren't chosen for the trial felt the pain. What if it had been me? What if I had to be the sacrifice? The Human Council, the group that had helped Earth prepare, met again. But this time they were not discussing survival. They were discussing morality, and it was tearing them apart. The council breaks. Inside the Human Council meeting room, emotions boiled. The former soldier from Ukraine stood up. "I have seen war. I've seen what happens when people are treated like numbers. No future is worth sacrificing innocent lives." The scientist from Kenya replied, "But think of the good. With this gift, we could save the entire planet. Is refusing it selfish?" The mother from Syria, who had already lost her children in war, whispered, "I cannot watch another mother lose a child. Not for any reason." They argued. They cried. They even screamed. The Corellians had done nothing this time. No machines, no simulations. Just a question, but this question was more dangerous than any weapon. And then, a quiet voice spoke. It was the teenage climate activist from Norway. "What if this is the real test?" Everyone turned to look at her. "What if..." The 3 stages were just to prepare us for this moment, to see if we learned anything at all. They sat in silence, thinking. The choice is made. Finally, the council made a decision, not by vote, not by shouting, but by silence. One by one, they nodded. No sacrifice, no shortcuts. Earth would walk the hard road, together. The next day, the council spoke to the world. We have made our decision. Humanity chooses the future where no one is left behind. We choose the path of patience, kindness, and unity, even if it is harder, even if it takes longer. And all over the world, people cried, not from sadness, from pride. The Corellians return. The sky turned blue again. The alien ships above Earth shimmered with golden light. Then, a final message came. You have chosen the impossible. Every species before you chose the easy path, the fast reward, the small sacrifice. You chose to protect every soul. You have passed the final trial. People gasped. This was the real test all along. Not how you behave under pressure, not how you work together, but what you do. When no one would blame you for choosing comfort. Then, to the surprise of the whole planet, the Corellians said something no one expected. Because of this decision, Earth will still be welcomed into the Accord. No lives will be taken. No cost will be paid. You changed the rules. You rewrote the law of the stars. You reminded us what true sentience looks like. And with that, the ships vanished. Quietly, peacefully. A new beginning. The world didn't explode into parties this time. There were no fireworks. Just a quiet feeling of something beautiful. The chosen ones returned to their lives. Many became teachers, healers, and storytellers. The council stayed active, not as rulers but as guides, and slowly, Earth did grow, not with alien magic but with human courage. Nations shared knowledge. Scientists worked together. People remembered that they were part of something larger, not just a country, not just a species, but a soul. And the galaxy watched. Far beyond Earth, thousands of species listened to the news. The humans, those noisy, wild, unpredictable creatures, had done something unthinkable. They had said no to power. They had said yes to each other. Many alien leaders laughed in disbelief. Others cried. Some changed their own laws because of what Earth had done. One thing was certain, the galaxy would never be the same again. And from that day on, whenever a new species was found, the Corellians told the story. There was a little blue planet once thought too violent to survive, but it became the first to choose love over fear. Not because it had to, but because it believed in something greater. And so, the galaxy watched in shock as humans passed the impossible test. Life on Earth returned to normal, but it was not the same normal. The world had changed. People walked the streets with a new sense of purpose, a deeper understanding of who they were and what they could achieve. It wasn't about technology or space travel. It wasn't about conquering other worlds or solving every problem overnight. No, the change was something much more profound. It was about human connection. Humanity had just passed the toughest test ever given, not by strength or intellect, but by heart. The Corellians, the galaxy's most advanced species, had watched as humanity made an impossible choice, and they were left in awe. Now the question was, what happens next? A new beginning. After the Corellians' final message, the world took a collective breath. There were no more alien ships hovering over Earth, no more mysterious messages. Yet despite the quiet, the galaxy was still watching. The question on everyone's mind was, what now? Earth had been offered an extraordinary future, one where technology, peace, and endless possibilities waited. Yet the people of Earth had made their choice. They chose a path that would take time, effort, and patience. A path that valued every life, even when it was difficult, but that was only part of the story. While Earth began its slow, steady journey toward a better future, the galaxy wasn't waiting in silence. For the first time, the Corellians and their Allies started to ask themselves, could Earth become more than just another species to watch? Could it truly lead? The Galactic Council's decision at the heart of the galaxy, in a vast space station known as the Galactic Council, representatives from hundreds of species gathered. These species had existed for centuries, some even millennia, and many had passed the sentience trial. But none had done so the way humans had. The council was made up of beings of all shapes, sizes, and abilities. Some looked like shimmering energy. Others were solid beings with multiple limbs, and some were completely unrecognizable to human eyes. But they all had one thing in common. They had watched humans and were impressed. The leader of the Galactic Council, an ancient being called Xerion, stood before the assembly. Xerion had seen countless species rise and fall. Xerion had observed the sentience trial from the beginning and had thought Earth would fail. But now, as Xerion looked at the assembled species, a question lingered in their mind. Xerion spoke in a voice that echoed through the vast chambers. We have watched as the humans faced the sentience trial. We have seen their courage, their compassion, and their ability to choose what was right even when it was the hardest choice. But the question remains, can they lead us? Can they show us something new? Something better? The room fell silent. I believe they can, Xerion continued. For the first time, a species has passed the trial, not because they were forced, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. They chose the path of love and unity over selfishness and fear. It is time to give them a chance to lead, not in the way we once led, but in a new way. The council members whispered among themselves. Some were skeptical, others were hopeful, but all of them were curious. We must give them the opportunity, Xerion concluded. Not because we need them, but because the galaxy needs what they offer. With that, the decision was made. The verdict was passed. Earth would be given the chance to join the Galactic Council as the first human species to hold a seat. This was no small gesture. The Galactic Council was the heart of the galaxy, and it governed everything: peace, trade, scientific progress, and the laws of the universe itself. No species had ever been allowed a seat at the table before. And now, the humans would have the opportunity to prove themselves once again, not in a test, but in the real challenges of governing and leading. The announcement to Earth on Earth. Life went on as usual. But behind the scenes, the leaders of the world were preparing for an event that would change everything. The Corellians had given their message to the Galactic Council, and now it was time for Earth to hear it. The President of the United Nations, a woman named Maya Silva, addressed the world. She stood on a stage in front of millions of people, her voice broadcast to every country and every screen. Her heart was racing, but she knew what had to be done. The eyes of the galaxy were on her and on Earth. My fellow citizens of Earth, Maya began, we have just received incredible news. Our planet has been given the chance to join the Galactic Council, the very body that governs the peace and progress of the entire galaxy. We have been given the honor of representing Earth in a way no species has ever done before. But this honor comes with responsibility. The galaxy has seen our potential. They believe in us. And now, we must prove that we are ready. The crowd erupted in cheers. People across the world celebrated, not because of the honor, but because it meant something more. It meant that humanity had earned the trust of the galaxy. It meant that their choice, the choice of compassion, forgiveness, and unity, had been acknowledged. Maya paused, allowing the cheers to settle before continuing. But let us remember, this is not just a gift. This is a challenge. We must lead with wisdom, kindness, and humility. We must continue to choose love over fear, unity over division. We must show the galaxy that what we did was not a one-time act, but the beginning of a new chapter in the story of humanity. The preparation as the world celebrated, preparations were made for the historic meeting. Representatives from every country were chosen to represent Earth at the Galactic Council, though they would be led by the members of the Human Council who had passed the sentience trial. The first step was to learn. They would need to understand the galaxy, its rules, its technology, and its civilizations. They would need to understand how to negotiate with species that had been alive for centuries, some even longer. The Corellians offered their knowledge, their wisdom, and their guidance. But it wasn't just about knowledge. It was about attitude. The people chosen to represent Earth were not the politicians or the scientists who had traditionally led the world. Instead, they were everyday people, activists, artists, poets, farmers, and healers, the ones who had shown, through their actions in the trial, that they understood the value of compassion, fairness, and unity. The first meeting months. Later, the first official meeting of the Galactic Council with Earth's representatives took place. It was held in a vast space station, a place where species from all across the galaxy gathered to discuss peace, trade, and progress. The representatives from Earth stood nervously before the council members. They were surrounded by beings from other worlds, some with 3 heads, others with no eyes, others made of light. But despite their differences, the representatives from Earth knew one thing. They were ready. Zirian, the leader of the council, addressed them. "Welcome, humans. You are the first of your kind to join us. We have watched you closely and we have been impressed. But now, you will see the challenges of galactic governance. The stakes are high. The decisions we make affect the lives of millions of beings." The humans nodded, ready to listen and learn. "I know you are not here to conquer, not here to demand power," Zirian continued. "But understand this. The galaxy is vast, and its politics are complicated. The choices you make will not only affect Earth, but also the future of every other species. We will see if your compassion can survive the weight of responsibility." The verdict, humanity's moment. As the meeting continued, the humans learned quickly. They made mistakes, but they listened. They compromised, but they never lost sight of their core values. They argued, but they always respected the voice of the other species. And slowly, the rest of the galaxy began to understand. Maybe this was how things should have been all along. Not through force, not through dominance, but through understanding and care. As the meeting drew to a close, Zirian addressed Earth's representatives once more. "You have done well, humans. The galaxy will be watching, but we will not judge you. You have shown that compassion, kindness, and unity are not weaknesses. They are the greatest strengths. And for that, Earth will not just be a member of the Galactic Council. It will be a beacon of hope for the galaxy." The moment Earth became a member of the Galactic Council was a turning point in history. People across the world, still in awe of what had happened, could hardly believe that they had made it. Not just made it through the sentience trial, but had chosen the path of unity, compassion, and hope. And now, Earth stood at the crossroads of a new era, one that would define the future of the planet and its place in the galaxy. But while humanity had passed the test and earned its place among the stars, the journey was far from over. The true challenge was just beginning. A new age for Earth in the days following the historic decision, the world began to feel different. There was an energy in the air, a sense of unity and purpose. People all over Earth knew that their planet had done something extraordinary, not for power or fame, but for the future of all species. It was a choice driven by love and hope, and now the world had to live up to that choice. Global leaders, scientists, philosophers, and artists all came together to discuss what humanity's next steps should be. They knew that being part of the Galactic Council meant not just being part of a larger community, but also taking on a responsibility, an enormous one. The world's first joint meeting, held in Geneva, gathered representatives from every country. They weren't just there to discuss how humanity could benefit from the galaxy's technology or knowledge, but also how they could contribute. What role would Earth play in this new galactic society? What lessons had they learned that could help others? The first major question was about Earth's future. How would they balance the promise of the Golden Path, the advanced technology and peace that could come from joining the galaxy, with the hard road of growing without shortcuts? Earth had already chosen the path of compassion, but what would that look like now in practical terms? The challenge of unity. One of the key challenges was that not all nations or people had the same vision. Some wanted to embrace the future with open arms, excited about the possibilities of advanced medicine, energy, and space exploration. Others, however, were more cautious. They feared that Earth's sovereignty might be compromised. They were concerned that their unique cultures and ways of life could be overshadowed by the overwhelming influence of other species. But the leaders of Earth's Council, those who had passed the sentience trial, reminded everyone of the promise humanity had made. They had chosen unity, and unity meant finding a way to bring everyone together, even if it wasn't easy. This meant that Earth's future wouldn't be a simple or quick fix. They could not simply accept every piece of technology the Corellians offered. Instead, humanity had to decide how to use it wisely, ensuring that it would benefit all people, not just a few. The challenge of unity extended to their relationships with other species as well. Humanity was no longer a planet on the outskirts of the galaxy. They were part of something much bigger now, a vast network of civilizations that spanned the stars. But the other species were not all the same. Some were hundreds of years more advanced, others had different ways of thinking, and some didn't always agree with the decisions humanity made. But even with these challenges, Earth's representatives stayed true to their values. They communicated openly with other species, asking for advice, sharing knowledge, and most importantly, staying committed to the core principles of the sentience trial. The Galactic Council and Earth's role as Earth's leaders began their work. On the Galactic Council, they found themselves in a unique position. They were the first species ever to be given a seat not because of their technological advancements, but because of their hearts. The Corellians had seen something in humanity that no other species had shown. They had passed the sentience trial in a way no one had expected. Now the question was how to maintain that legacy. What would Earth contribute to the galaxy? The Galactic Council, a gathering of species from across the universe, was focused on maintaining peace, balancing resources, and promoting scientific progress. But many of its members had spent centuries focused on technology and power. They had grown accustomed to their advanced abilities and their immense control over the galaxy. But the humans, Earth's representatives, were different. Instead of focusing on power, the humans brought something else to the table: compassion. At their first full meeting, the human representatives proposed a new idea. They suggested that the Galactic Council put more effort into resolving conflicts not with force or intimidation, but with understanding and empathy. They argued that the galaxy was large enough to accommodate everyone's differences, and that cooperation, rather than competition, should be the guiding principle. At first, the other species listened in silence. Some were skeptical. They didn't think such a simple idea could work in a galaxy full of ancient, powerful civilizations. But the humans persisted, offering examples from Earth's history, times when cooperation and empathy had helped bring about peace, even in the most difficult circumstances. Slowly, the other species began to see the wisdom in what the humans were saying. Perhaps the galaxy didn't need more weapons or more control. Maybe, just maybe, what it needed was more understanding. And so, Earth's representatives began working on a new initiative: the Galactic Peace Accord, a set of guidelines for resolving conflicts peacefully, based on the principles of unity, empathy, and trust. The Accord would require members of the Galactic Council to consider the feelings, needs, and perspectives of others before taking action. It would also encourage the sharing of knowledge and resources in ways that benefited everyone, not just the powerful. The challenges of growth. While the new peace accord was met with enthusiasm by many, it wasn't without its challenges. The most difficult issue was how to ensure that the resources of the galaxy were distributed fairly. Some species had been hoarding technology and knowledge for centuries, while others had barely begun to explore the stars. The Corellians, for example, had access to incredible technology that could revolutionize Earth's energy needs. But the humans were cautious. They didn't want to rely on alien technology too heavily. They wanted to find their own way. It was a delicate balance. Humanity had chosen the hard road and they intended to stick to it, but they were also willing to accept help where it was needed, just not at the cost of their independence. The representatives from Earth worked tirelessly to ensure that the peace accord didn't just offer benefits to the already powerful species, but to those who needed help the most. There were many discussions, many disagreements, and many long hours of negotiation. But slowly, Earth's representatives began to build relationships with the other species. They earned their trust, they listened to their concerns, and through it all, they stayed true to their values. The legacy of compassions. The years passed, Earth began to flourish, not because of alien technology, but because humanity had learned to work together. The new relationships between Earth and the galaxy species grew stronger. Humans shared their knowledge of empathy, conflict resolution, and unity. They became known as the ambassadors of compassion. More and more, the galaxy began to change. The peace accord became a guiding principle for species everywhere. Conflicts that had once seemed inevitable were now being solved peacefully. Even those who had been wary of Earth's rise were beginning to see the wisdom in their approach. And Earth, though still a young civilization in the eyes of the galaxy, became a symbol of hope. The gift of the future. One day, the Corellians approached Earth with an unexpected offer. They had watched the humans carefully and had come to an incredible conclusion. The Corellians, who had always been the most advanced species in the galaxy, offered to share their deepest secrets with Earth, knowledge that could revolutionize life on the planet. This knowledge could cure all diseases, eliminate hunger, and provide unlimited energy. But humanity faced a choice. They could accept the offer and take their place as the most advanced civilization in the galaxy, with all the power that came with it. Or they could continue on their current path, slowly, carefully ensuring that they were ready for such responsibility. The human representatives, true to their nature, chose the second option. They realized that the power to change the galaxy was not something to be taken lightly. It was something that must be earned step by step. And so they chose to keep moving forward on their own, learning, growing, and making decisions that respected the future of all species. A new chapter for humanity. In the years to come, humanity's place in the galaxy would only continue to grow. Earth's representatives would remain ambassadors of peace and compassion. And while they would always face challenges, they knew that they had something powerful: their hearts. And so, as the stars shone brightly above, humanity stepped boldly into its new future. A future built on love, understanding, and unity. And the galaxy watched, no longer in shock but in admiration,